take you to the Information Ministry, where the Information Minister, Fatia Bouaka, as well as the Gender Minister, Dakwa Newman, will be addressing the press. Key issues they'll be looking at: the school feeding program and the Affirmative Action Act. Let's listen in.
Done online. And so I believe all your district offices, you can get some help from your municipal offices. If there are any further questions, you'll be able to seek guidance. There'll be a desk set up there to ensure that this online process is smooth. We'll be running a pilot system in 2 constituencies, that is in New Drubbing South and I think Karachi East. So this pilot process that they are going to go through for these 2 districts will be the final one. When we roll out the national one, they will not have to go through the system already because they've already been employed through the system. So you'll see this publication any day from now in the dailies. And once again, all prospective caterers, it's open to you to come and apply. There are requirements which need to be fulfilled, because the Ghana School Feeding Program, you should be able to prove that you can pre-finance. As you all know, it's paid after the term. And so you need proof that you can pre-finance. You should have about 5,000 cedis in an account as showing proof that you can pre-finance it, and that should be fine. With every business, you need to have a business operating permit, and so that is also a requirement that is needed. You need a health certificate as well. The full list of requirements will be published in the dailies when we put out the request for quotation. Prospective caterers will see all the requirements that they need to satisfy in order to be selected as a caterer for the 2024-2025 academic year and the 2025-2026 academic year. So this caterer selection will be for these 2 academic years, where the caterers would have their contract and they'll be able to cook within that period of time. So that has to do with the caterer selection. When it comes to the information management system, I talked about the second module being the data collection. So with data collection, it's also going to be online. What we've been running was a manual system where the caterer fills a form and then SHEP coordinators also verifies and the head teacher also does. This is all manual. But now it's all going to be electronic. They're going to use tablets to do this, or a cell phone as well can do these verifications. So going forward, in collecting data, in ensuring that people cooked or they didn't cook, everything is going to be on the MIS, that system. And it's going to give us real-time updates. We will know today the number of caterers who cooked. We don't have to wait till the end of the term to determine, because it was paperwork, they now have to put everything together, send it to the region, send it to national, they validate. So it smoothens the process, it streamlines the process for everybody. It makes it a more efficient system, and that's why it's needed at this point, that we leave the paperwork behind and we work with a paperless and online system where it's digital. We are digitalizing the system to make it streamlined and to make it efficient for everybody, caterers, the ministry, the secretariat, everybody that has an input to play. I think it will take out a lot of the issues we've been facing with even duplicate contracts. So that also wipes that out, because people can't just go and photocopy someone's contract and start cooking. So I'm very happy that this system has come now. It's key. In 2024, we should be moving towards a paperless society, a greener society, and this is what the Ghana School Feeding Program is going to be doing. As we said, it starts from the 2024-2025 academic year. So that year should start in September, and so this month is going to be, there's going to be the first module, that's the caterer selection that we are going through. Immediately the pilot starts. After that, the rolling out of the national process will also start. So you'll see another publication for all 16 regions, this time not just for the 2 districts that have been advertised at this point. And so I think for now, this is the salient information that I believe people require. Any further information, you'll see it in the papers. Thank you very much. Should I move on? All right. Now to a very important matter which we are all very interested in. I see Madam Sheila Menka-Premo here. Over the last few weeks, I've been working closely with her office on the Affirmative Action Bill. She has been very vibrant, and I think I should just mention that to everybody. She's done a lot to support the ministry in getting the Affirmative Action Bill passed in Parliament. On the 30th of July 2024, we're all aware that finally, the Affirmative Action Bill is now an Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act 2024. And so I'd like to begin by thanking everybody who has been involved for our president's support. I've been liaising with him on it since I took office. He's been very interested in it. I'd like to thank Parliament, the 8th Parliament, especially the men. I always say that because the men, if you followed their discussions, they did most of the work on the floor. And so looking at their numbers, I mean, there was no way it would pass without the men. We are just 14.55% of the women in Parliament, and so we thank the men a lot. We are here today discussing this because of them. As I said, the bill was passed on the 30th of July. I've heard a lot of people saying, has the president signed it? And I would like to inform everybody here that it hasn't gotten to the president yet. I met with the head of legislation. He's still tidying up a few things on the bill, on the act actually. And once he's done tidying it up, then it can be sent to the president for his assent. And so at this point in time, it is not like the president hasn't signed it. It is not with the president yet. It will soon be with him. As I've informed you, this bill has been a long time coming. When I took office, we had to withdraw the bill and relay it. We took it through winnowing. The winnowing had to see certain parts of the bill taken out. So the final bill you will see is also different in a few ways from the one that has been on social media. Somebody sent me a copy, and that is actually the bill that was withdrawn. So the bill you are seeing is not the final bill. However, a lot of the parts, a lot of the clauses still remain the same. There are a few more schedules that we added to it. There are a few clauses we had to delete because of constitutional issues. And so if you followed the discussion, you would have realized there was a lot of haggling on when it got to the political parties, when it got to independent constitutional bodies, because those were where those constitutional issues cropped up. But apart from those, most of the clauses will remain the same. A lot of people have raised issues with speaking about tokenism and the fact that we'll just be putting women, round pegs in square holes or square pegs in round holes. I want to assure the people of Ghana that the women in this country are qualified, and so it's not going to be a matter of tokenism. We are all aware of the input women make into the Ghanaian society, and I'd like to assure them this is not just a matter of taking people who are unqualified and putting them in positions because we have a minimum of 30% to adhere to. At this point, we're all aware of what STEM education is. We're all aware of what the government is doing to ensure that females get access into male-dominated even courses, even in the universities. If you realize, the universities have set up policies that are getting a lot more women into the sciences, into mathematics. And so I can assure you that once these women finish their courses, in fact, we're asking for parity, but maybe there might be even more than that. So please, let's not reduce it to tokenism. Let us deal with it as it is. The women are qualified, and these qualified women will be a part of the 30% we are asking for, and what the bill mandates us to do as a country. It starts from 30%. If you check the first schedule in the Act, you'll see that from 2024 to 2026, we have 30%. Then 2027, 2028, we're actually having a minimum of 35%. Until it gets to 2029 to 2030, then 50% is what you'll see in the schedule. That's the parity we are looking for. And so it's progressive. We didn't start out to say, and you'll see it says equity. We didn't start out by saying gender equality because we know it's a process. We know there are a lot of cultural dynamics that have to be dealt with. We know there's a lot of sensitization that needs to be done, a lot of advocacy, a lot of education. And so we have made it progressive to ensure that the Ghanaian society can buy into it and own it. It shouldn't be a law that is punitive. Fine, the Act gives, there's a portion for offenses, and it spells out that there could be a jail term or penalty units. However, we don't want to look at it in a punitive manner. We want to incentivize people. So you'll see that there's a section in the Act that talks about incentivizing private organizations, where the Minister of Finance, in conjunction with the Gender Minister and GRA, can look for some tax incentives for the companies that are adhering to the law. This is just to get people on board to see that if they follow the law, there's a benefit to it, there's a benefit to women, so there's a benefit to Ghanaians in general. Okay, and so that is what we are trying to do with this law, not just to punish people and say that they are not adhering to the law, but for them to see the benefits in employing more women, recruiting more women into sensitive positions, into key decision-making positions, positions of authority. That is what the bill is seeking to do, to empower the women that we have and we know are capable. In this vein, I think I have talked enough, so I will leave it for you to bring questions, any issues you have, and I can address them for you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we will take your questions. You mention your name and affiliation and proceed to ask your question. But briefly on the issue of school feeding, I know a lot can be lost in translation. So I'm tempted to do a summary in Chi, just so that our sisters and our mothers will understand the issues as the Honorable Minister delivered. Because the next thing you will hear out there is that the Minister held a presser and said they have made some changes in school feeding and your office will be full. So it's important that we also do other cuts in languages that they understand. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, where the enana pay ye beshia wa ha anye bone Oswafo from Gender Ministry, Yenya Bada Kwa Newman. Oba haso ni ebedin kita ho. Afa school feeding in sheshe fofra omode aba so omode beshe mokena eho. Afe nsoso. Emra ada mra shebedwefie ache na obehwene asade akwa bankesem na asaba nyame adom. Afi 2024 bosumi etwa mu ya omatimi e de akwa amamra shebedwemu nse ya pass mra I friend Affirmative Action into brackets Gender Equity Act of 2024. Na school feeding no anamobe na oswafo ne se obetu amietimi ahye mokena. Osisa ye kasei se wokọ mansini mienu so a eye Krachi East District e na afei nso so New Dwabin South. Omo ye nhyehyɛ ahwɛ ekwan a omo befa so na ohaw ne ahohiahia eye school feeding eye registration ne nhyehyɛ processes na eda ho na de bremo a moka program no ho bi ebe ye free ho problems na ebi ne sen nka antete no se woka school feeding program no ho a yes wo pese wo twa odin a be fele form ya twere wie no ye de be free mansi mu se ye de be command mu ye free ho a yes ye de ban kran say ye na won krata ni bi akam obete obenu aduane na wie ebedru akatua no yes duplicate nti ye validation ye nyentua ye ana say ye hu krata ye hu adanse a e kire say wano a enti na osoafo ne say de omo pese ye fa abefo kwan so na sabi enam say ye won kwala wo fi ebikita mobile phone ne computer ne akade a ye betimi age wo udi ene nkrata bi adanse nkrata bi a wo na omo de register wo online na ye register wo online no so a mo ye wie ya mo pretu mu na edru o maso ye honom se be ye o mbe toto niema bia wano no mawie na menteme ho ase ene demo ne kasakasa bia ne achinie bia mrechi na o se wo pese wo ye school feeding ni bia ede na wo hia o mo hia se unya health certificate ni minim se mo amuni mu dada ne ye kra ye wo choba no kra ye health certificate okọ assembly omobe ye be hwe moje mu kakra ne ahwese hote na mama krata omomoto aduane wo kwa ho nyina omunim health certificate enya de foforo bia uye nu free ho nso so a omuhia business operating permit eye permit e wo ho dada a wo se wokọ mansini bia mu a assembly honom omo na omoma saa permit no ombe ye nhyehyeye na omama krata ni bi minim se mu nyina bebre wo bi dada na ebio SSA omomo adanse a ekyerese ye the contract ne mawa aduane no obetimi anoa fi se sika no onu awie ansa na yetua nti se wo ba na se wo de adade ba se me wo adanse ekyerese me wo sika a ebetimi aduru 5000 Ghana cedis eye Ghana cedi no empemu num ebia uni bank account obi wo momo so a utimi de momo statement ba na o mahwa ma uni momo a eSwitch nso so wo ho enti statement na bia wo de beba bia no mo betimi de ato aba Fontaine no so ama o mahu adanse e kire se wo betimi ano aduane ni bi enti nhyehyɛ we beboa ama sene musi ehwe animu ebredo do amode hwe animu si ebetua moka no kra so bete ama ekinye no so ate obi akrata ankoka munya afe ne se opepa aka ba bi ye de akyekyere nkate ye da bi we die bibia wa wunimu abefo kwan a yesi faso de efeli online form yi wo obebunu bia wo mpetemu a mane moa anasa wo de kwa assembly ho kra na bisa se me pese me register school feeding ni bi nanso so minim se ne emesi aye na obi wo nimde bi wo ho mbebo amoa register yenti ni oma sha asie eye ntete ho kra a ekoso New Jabin South ene Krachi East minister say nyame adom a so mo be start ni ombe ye na Ghana afana ba bia mantemu edunsia ni nyina ombe ye bi wo ho a eno nso so ombe yi mositire afa TV so ene newspapers mo ni bibia say yabo kwan ato ho say wo pese school feeding program no for the next 2 academic years starting from 2024-2025 onso pese ode ho baji mu bi onu aduane oni meduane ye ana wa ye bi dada mu amuwo mu ni nyina akwanya we abeda ho se ebesiesi enkratasem ni aye ntotoye ama school feeding program no so ebedi mu medamu ase. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we will take your questions, and I would like to commend the Honorable Minister and her team for the passage, and also to Parliament for the passage of the Affirmative Action and Gender Equity Act of 2024. It's been a long time coming, especially for those of us who were following the likes of my lady and also following Abantu, following the Women in Broadcasting World DAF Women's Manifesto, and the coalition of all the women CSOs who have been advocating for this for decades. So, Minister, I know it's not easy to pass through all the hurdles and also all the corners to get to where you are now. So we commend you for the passage of the act. So please, if you have any question, yes. Okay, I can see 2 hands at the back. Ladies first. Today is gender ministry, so let's start from the lady. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Kumba Tamba, a student from the University of Cape Coast and a member of the
Your name again, please.
Kumba Tamba.
Kumba. Okay.
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
A student from the University of Cape Coast and a member of the Affirmative Action Bill Coalition. My first question is with regards to the school feeding program. I'm wondering what criteria was used to peg the least amount at 5,000 and whether consideration was made for institutions with large numbers. That so if a caterer is able to prove funds of 5,000 and say they have to feed a school of over 500 for 3 months or 2 months, I don't think that 5,000 cedis would suffice. So what criteria was used, and have these things been put into consideration with regards to the school feeding program?
Thank you so much.
And secondly, something I'm very passionate about, the Affirmative Action Act now, yeah. Could we have an idea of the time frame it would take for the legal works to be done before the President assents to it? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. Okay, John.
Thank you very much. My name is John Awuni. I represent Kesben. Permit me to congratulate the Minister for the eloquent and flawless manner in which she did the presentation without a teleprompter, without a printed document. Kudos to Minister. My question is, what's the current status of the school feeding program? That's my first question. And secondly, how does the school feeding program address gender disparities in education and then nutrition of our kids? Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Okay. My name is Joseph Armstrong. I work with TV3. Yeah, so the first question is about the amount paid per child in terms of the school feeding program. Is there an increment in the amount paid per child, which we are told affects the quality of food provided for these school children? And also we are aware about the fact that some schools are supposed to be beneficiaries of the school feeding program, but particularly in the north, many of these schools are not getting, or caterers are not there to provide these kids with food. And lastly is about the arrears, where many of these caterers sometimes demonstrate, go to the various RCCs to seek and demand for their money. How much is in arrears, and have all these caterers been taken care of? Thank you.
Okay, so we can take two more questions. Okay, so then I'll come.
Yes, so my name is Ebenezer Kofi Amponsa. I'm with the Daily Guide. My question has to do with why these two districts were selected among several districts, why the Secretary decided to choose this district. Then I think what I want to find out has already been asked, but I want to find out how much they are Secretary's own caterers, and with the room, as they are preparing to roll out the online registration system, what steps will be taken to ensure that all these arrears are paid before these systems are rolled out? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll take the last question for this round. Nana, we'll come back to you. Okay, so, okay.
Okay, so thank you. I am Nenen Chibo from Global Media Alliance, Happy FM. My question is with regards to the school feeding registration. Most of the times we know with online registration, you have to buy an online form before you fill it and other stuff. So we want to ask, with regards to the school feeding, are they going to also pay for an online form, or the registration will be free? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on that note, I will invite Honorable Minister for her responses, and then we'll come back for the next set of questions.
Okay, thank you for your questions. So the 5,000 is the minimum. Okay, we always look at the upper level, that there might be a lot of students in schools. However, we have some schools that have about an enrollment of 45 people, and so that is why there's a minimum of 5,000, and it cuts across. So once you can prove that you have that money, we can check it off as one of you fulfilling one of the requirements. So there are multiple requirements, as we said. So it's just the base. It's just what's the least amount you should have in either your Momo, whatever, whether it's a bank account, whether it's your eSwitch, whatever it is, that minimum should be there. Okay. You also asked how long it will take. So the head of legislation is just tidying it up. I saw what had been done. It's just minor things. They still have to go to assembly press. They still have to do some back and forth. I will go back there next week, Monday, to see where it got into. We are following the bill to the last, and it doesn't end, as you know. There's still implementation, there's an LI, we have to do advocacy, so there's no end to this. It's just work after work after work, and I just want you to know that the ministry is committed and we are following it closely, so you can be rest assured of that. Thank you. So Someone also asked if there's an increment. So the amount of 1 cedi 50 pesos remains the same. It was increased recently, and so we are still going to be paying caterers 1 cedi 50 pesos for the 2024-2025 academic year. There was also another issue about children who are not being fed, or caterers are not providing food. Can we have some actuals as to which schools? Because when it's general and it's blanket, I can't speak to it until you can give me an actual school where the children are not receiving their meal. So far, the head teachers have not reported any new incidents of children not being fed who are part of the program. And so I'd be grateful, and then I'd look into that and give you your answer. Thank you. You asked why there are these two districts were selected. So because it's an online system, we had to look at a district that has good internet connectivity and a district that has fairly terrible or bad internet connectivity. And so over the weeks, they conducted a user acceptance test in these two districts to make sure that the system would work there, especially looking at the place in Karachi that doesn't have very good internet connectivity. And so that was the main reason. Because it's online, we needed to test it there, and so it's just right that the pilot follows there for us to have a total picture of what or how much load the system can take and all those other things that the IT people need to check off. So that is why those two were selected. They said, what steps are we taking to pay arrears? Okay, currently we've paid the first term. The students just vacated from their third term, and so we have the second and third term to pay. We are working on getting the second term paid immediately. We would ask the caterers to bear with us. I'm still waiting for Controller to give me a go-ahead. As you know, the Minister for Gender does not make payments without money coming from Controller. So as soon as the money comes from Controller, Finance gives that go-ahead and Controller sends us the money. The payment will be effected immediately. And so these delays do not come from the Ministry of Gender. I know there's a lot of chatter on the platforms, and I'm always at the end of it, but I can assure you that once the money hits the accounts, quickly GIBS will make the payments that needs to be made. There was another question about the online form. I believe I answered it. I said that you'd have to pay, a prospective caterer would have to pay an amount of 200 Ghana cedis. Okay, so you create your profile, you pay your money, then you have access to fill the form. So that is a standard amount. It doesn't matter the enrollments, the number, you pay 200.
Need to ask at all. Kindly show by hand. Okay.
So sorry, ma'am. Joseph Armstrong, once again, you spoke about mentioning specific. So we have a district, for instance, the Bandai district. Over there, we have schools in there. Some of these people's being asked to even carry firewood and come with yam and things for them. So if you know of the Bandai district, for instance, and also particularly
Dambai.
Yeah, Dambai district, and particularly
Dambai in the Oti region.
Dambai in the Oti region, yes. And then also, if you can also be able to tell us how much.
Which school? What's the name of the school?
So it's a district I'm aware of, the Dambai district. I did a story there recently.
Because it's run in institutions. So if you get the name of the school, it will help her so that they can reach out to the headmaster.
Okay, very well. So I'll get that and I'll test you. Okay. So the next follow-up question is about how much arrears you owe. Yeah, we know you owe, but how much do you owe these caterers? If you know the figure, we're able to work around it. And then lastly, about the application of the online application. We know many districts across the country do not have internet, not to talk of electricity. So if you go to a typical community in a place like Oti region, they do not have internet access. So how do these caterers have access to apply online? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So we can take the next.
Yeah, good morning, Honorable Minister.
Good morning, Nana.
My name is Nana Poku from Daily Searchlight. My question has to do with the quality and quantity of food served these children.
Nana, please, can you speak up a little bit?
My question has to do with quality and quantity of food being served to these children. most invariably, if you watch the clips and the videos, it's a bit scary. I don't know, because of the smallness of the contribution or whatever. So what are you going to do, as it were, to improve on the quality, especially the quality of the food that we give to our children? And then my second question has to do with the digitalization of the whole process. Most of these women are not lettered. And the minister said that their children can help them. But I know some people whose children are not with them. They are somewhere. And so the whole process is going to be very difficult for some of them. So how far are you going to make it so simple and so that people can easily fill the forms or fill the digital online and make access to whatever they want to? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. If there are any other hands, if not, I take that to be the last.
Yes, my name is John Awuni. Yes, I wanted to know, I know some of the schools are not captured in the school feeding project, and with this new thing, are they going to open up for those schools who are not captured to be part, or it will still remain the way it is? And then I asked earlier on about the status of the school feeding program, but she didn't touch on it. And then finally, the other one was on the school feeding and then the gender equity. What impact or what role can it play in getting more students, kids in school? Thank you.
In getting more?
Gender equity in our schools, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Are there any hands? Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Portia, also from Abantu.
Yes.
So mine is more like an appeal to the Honorable Minister. I don't know the justification for the 1 CD, 50 pesos per a child. So if that could be reconsidered, looking at the current economic hardship and the increase in prices of market commodity for the purposes of quality and the health aspect of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Elizabeth Akpalu from the Affirmative Action Coalition. But my question is on the school feeding program for now. I want to know whether there's a team from the Ministry of Health or from the Ministry of Gender helping the women, the caterers, as to the choice of menus that they should prepare for children. Because I know about where the school that's close to my house, Our Lady of Assumption Catholic School, New Achimota. It's between New Achimota and the other one. Yes, because I served on the board for a while. Most of the children do not eat the food. They go to the watcher sellers, the local watcher sellers who also operate on the compound. And I don't know, they said the food is not good. So they prefer to go and eat from the local sellers, the watcher and the kinky and the rest. So I wanted to know whether there's something in place to help the caterers so that they can choose menus that will be acceptable. I know the money being given them is very small, but whatever they can manage, which will be acceptable to the children, will be, I think, of interest to all of us, because there are women who are rendering this service and we need to help them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, please. David.
Thank you very much. My name is Shilaminka Premo, also from the Affirmative Action Bill Coalition. I would first like to commend the Minister for pushing to have this bill passed. What I'd like to find out is what the timelines are for the ministry in terms of advocacy and starting to put structures in place for implementation. Any idea of the timelines?
Thank you so much. Okay, I can see one hand at the back, so I take that to be the last question, and then we will invite the Honorable Minister back for her responses.
I'm Nkrumah Lydia, a service person at the Ministry of Information. Please, I would like to know if, let's say, 2,000 caterers are needed, but 3,000 apply, and they all pay 200 cedis. Is there would there be a refund for the 1,000?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for the questions. You know, there is something special about conversations around gender and children. It's been very deep but also emotive. It's been so calm and I'm enjoying it. It's as if today we are not having a presser, as if the platform has changed, but I know it is the audience that have changed. But before I yield to the Honorable Minister, John asked a particular question. Very important question, but I felt the answers may all not be found at the Ministry of Gender, so I wanted to contribute before I invite the Honorable Minister back. With regards to enrollment, the improvements that have happened in the various schools, I believe, is significant. And I have data at the SHS level, but I can only imagine what is happening at the basic school level. Since 2017, at the beginning of 2017, the amount of money that was paid per caterer was about 80 pesos. Then there was an upward adjustment to 1 cedi and 1 cedi 20 pesos, and now to 1 cedi 50 pesos. And they were also providing services to 1.6 million school children, and now that number has increased to about 4 million, as announced by the finance minister during the mid-year budget review. Maybe we should look at it from this perspective. If it hadn't contributed, and also other factors like the free SHS and other social interventions, the last time I engaged the Education Ministry, they told me that in 2017, the gender ratio at the SHS level was 64 girls to every 100 boys at the senior high school level. For every 100 boys, there were 64 girls in school. Today, as at the end of 2023 and first quarter of 2024, for every 100 boys, there are 106 girls in senior high schools. So probably the interventions are working. And I believe if we reflect and look at the number of people who will just come to school because they will have a meal, who will come because there is nothing in the house, so the mothers would rather bring them to school so that they can get a meal a day. We always advocate, myself, every gender minister, I say fight harder, let them increase it. But let us also look at how progressive it has been over the period. Doubled, almost doubled in terms of amount, and also more than double in terms of numbers. So I think the investments have been huge, and it's our prayer that the ministry will get more allocation from both government and also donor agencies so that they can scale up. Thank you. So on that note, I will invite Honorable Minister to respond to the questions.
Thank you, Minister, for breaking that down for us. So the first question about Dambai, she already spoke to. I think we would need the schools involved so that we can get the head teachers and get our monitoring team to go in to investigate, and then we can give you actuals. The second question had to do with the fact that there's limited internet connectivity in some parts of Ghana. Granted, certain areas do not have good internet connectivity, and so that's why I mentioned that the district offices, they all have Wi-Fi connectivity, and so there'll be a desk there to support anybody who wants to apply and needs assistance or needs help. Once you go to your district office, they will give you that assistance, and you ask for that particular desk. You'll be able to get the assistance you need. You'll get the support to ensure that you can also apply. I hope that is okay with you. The next question had to do with the quantity and quality of food. So in addition to this online system, there is also an app that is being developed. I think by now it's done. It's called the Franny app. Okay, it's AI generated, and so the SHEP officer who does the verifications would randomly go to the schools and take a picture. The app helps you to determine the nutritional value of the food. Because when you take a picture, the app gives you a breakdown of how nutritious the food is. So creating this online system also deals with the nutritional issues that have come to be over the period, where people could look at the food and say they don't think the children are getting the right or balanced diet from the food being served. And so that would give us a clear indication, and then whatever the ministry needs to do to ensure that these caterers are cooking food that is nutritious for our dear children to eat, we can come in and do. So those checks and balances will help as much as possible to solve some of these issues and some of these problems. The next question had to do with, sorry, you said the status of school feeding. Status, I wasn't too clear. If you can be clearer with, I mentioned if it has to do with payment, we've paid the first term, we're working on paying the second term, and then we can pay the third term. So she has given that. Okay, so he is fine with that. We also had a question. She talked about education and how far female students in the school have been enrolled, so that is perfect. We can all see the benefits. Speaking about timelines, so our dear consultant, we will continue to work with you with these timelines. We've worked with you throughout, and I don't want to stand here and give you any timelines that we haven't worked to. We want to put forward timelines that are achievable. And so we would need all the key stakeholders to come in, because even though the ministry is leading, we would have all of you, your CSOs, all these organizations coming together for us to have a frontal advocacy and sensitization. And so for timelines, we would work on it together, and then I can put something out into the public. I believe the question on the refund, please no, there will not be a refund. When you pay and the money goes into the government chest, we will not refund the money back to you. As much as possible, make sure that you qualify, that the requirements that have been given before you buy the form, that you already have these documents, and so when you come, you'll be able to prove that all the requirements have been satisfied, okay, so that there's no need for a discussion of giving you your money back and all that. Just like you buy any other form, for even if you are going to apply for a regular job and you are to buy a form, the money is not refunded. So this is nothing new. It's the same process that we are going through. I thank you all for your questions.
Okay, so I take that to be the last one, but I think it's good to call Minister back for her concluding remarks, if any. But on that note, I want to use this opportunity to acknowledge our media partners, to the entire press corps that has been with us every single time, but particularly for the stations that are picking this press briefing live on TV and radio. We are on GTV, Joy News, ABC News GH, Asasi Radio, Oman FM, Kingdom FM. Thank you so much for the coverage. So, Honorable Minister, your final words, or if there are some people you want to thank, yes, or advise anything, please.